This conspiracy theory should be easy to debunk. It is biologically impossible for viruses to spread using the electromagnetic spectrum. The latter are waves, photons, while the former are biological particles composed of proteins and nucleic acids. But that isn't really the point. Conspiracy theories are enticing because they often link two things which at first might appear be correlated. In this case, the rapid rollout of 5G networks was taking place at the same time the pandemic hit. A recent variant of this conspiracy theory, particularly beloved by anti-vaccination activists, is the idea that COVID is part of a dastardly Gates-led plot to vaccinate the world's population. There is some truth in this, of course. Vaccinating much of the world's population may well be the only way to avoid an eventual death toll in the tens of millions. But anti-vaxxers don't believe vaccines work. Instead, some have spread the myth that Gates wants to use a vaccination program to implant digital microchips that will somehow track and control people. This one at least has the benefit of being plausible. It is true that the original epicenter of the epidemic, the Chinese city of Wuhan, also hosts a virology institute where researchers have been studying bat coronaviruses for a long time. One of these researchers, Shi Zhengli, a prominent virologist who spent years collecting bat dung samples in caves and was a lead expert on the earlier SARS outbreak, was sufficiently concerned about the prospect that she spent days frantically checking lab records to see if anything had gone wrong. However, the sheer coincidence of China's lead institute studying bat coronaviruses being in the same city as the origin of the COVID outbreak has proven too juicy for conspiracists to resist. A spicier variant is that COVID not only escaped from a lab, but it was intentionally created by Chinese scientists as a biowarfare weapon. According to Pew Research, nearly 3 in 10 Americans believe that COVID-19 was made in a lab, either intentionally or accidentally. The former is more popular. Specifically, 23% believe it was developed intentionally, with only 6% believing it was an accident. This theory that the Chinese somehow created the virus is particularly popular on the US political right. The Chinese government responded to the anti-China theories with a conspiracy theory of its own, that seeks to turn blame back around onto the United States. This idea was spread initially by Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian, who tweeted, "It's possible that the US military brought the virus to Wuhan." These comments, according to Voice of America News, echoed a rumored conspiracy, widely circulated in China, that US military personnel had brought the virus to China during their participation in the 2019 Military World Games in Wuhan last October. According to professional conspiracy theorists, COVID-19 doesn't actually exist, but is a plot by the globalist elite to take away our freedoms. Early weaker versions of this theory were prevalent on the political right in the notion that the novel coronavirus would be no worse than flu, and later versions are now influencing anti-lockdown protests across several states in the US. Because believers increasingly refuse to observe social distancing measures, they could directly help to spread the epidemic further in their localities and increase the resulting death rate.